Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So in today's video, I'm going to be sharing with you some of the books that I read that inspired me to start investing in real estate. So we're just gonna get right into it. Let's get started. So the very first book that I read, because You Are a Badass, How to Stop Doubting Your Greatness and Start Living an Awesome Life by Jen Sincero. So to be honest, I read this book years ago, but basically the title says it all. Stop doubting yourself. One of the books that I read once I started working and out of college. I was still very young, trying to find myself, trying to find my purpose. And I would read a lot of books like this. Just so you know, a lot of these books that I'm going to be talking to you about has a lot to do with success and motivation kind of reads. Those are the kind of reads that I like. So this book is by Jen Sincero and it's a New York Times bestseller, so I do recommend it. Girl Code: Unlocking the Secrets to Success, Sanity, and Happiness for the Female Entrepreneur. And this book is by Cara, Alwill, Leyba. Girl Code is basically about an entrepreneur. She started a blog. And from starting her blog, she gained some momentum. She started to get some popularity and she actually started coaching women. So she's talking about her struggles and how she had to shift her mindset in just her everyday life as being an entrepreneur, and some doubts that come with, you know, being a woman, a girl boss basically. So this was also a really good read. And the reason why I gravitated towards this book is just because I always knew I wanted to be an entrepreneur. When I was reading this book at the time, I think I was selling my hair extensions. So if you don't know, I actually do sell hair extensions. I've been doing it for the past 10 years now. I started back in 2011. So that's why I was like gravitating towards, like, you know, girl boss, girl code, entrepreneur type books. Next book. Now this book is a New York Times bestseller. The Success Principles: How to Get from Where You Are to Where You Want to Be by Canfield. I think I read this a few times. That's why it looks like this. It's a little beat up, I know. There's some activities in there that they encourage you to do as well. And I have a 10th anniversary edition. The reviews on this was bomb. It kind of teaches you the behavior of successful people, how successful people become successful, and just lets you know what they had to go through to get there. So it's not impossible, it's possible for everyone. And this book was definitely a wake-up call. If you want to be successful, sometimes it's hard to see it. Sometimes it's hard to actually, you know, work every day towards those goals. You might have a lot going on in your life. These books are definitely like, it starts to change your way of thinking. You start thinking differently. You start talking differently. Your vocabulary expands. It's like having a life coach. It helps you learn that successful people focus on their past successes and not their past failure. Just focus on the positive. It helps them move forward. It helps them get them closer to their goals. They also keep their focus on their next step, and it just teaches you about the discipline that they have. They never allow any distractions in the present time to basically distract them. He gives you a lot of principles. There's a lot of different activities. So I really do recommend this book. I learned so much from this book. I had to read it a few times just because it was that good. So I recommend it. Next, this book actually is what kind of introduced me to real estate. This book helps you gain control of your financial future. This is really opening your eyes about your financial future. And it's like a really good scenario because he talks about his rich dad, who's actually not his biological father, and his poor dad, who is his biological father. But the rich dad also brought him up too. So he had two father figures in his life, and he got to see how they did things differently. Like his biological father worked for a company, worked crazy hours, wasn't really making much, like you could call it the minimum wage. Whereas his rich dad was teaching him like how to run a business, and he saw that his rich dad was making so much more money, making so much more progress than his biological father, although his rich dad was like barely in the office. Like he was setting systems in place, buying real estate, you know, creating businesses, and he wanted to obviously live the life that his rich dad had and not his poor dad. And he shares his experiences with you. This is what sparked that real estate bug. This is what planted the seed. And I was just like, ooh, this is interesting. I read this a few times as well. And then I went ahead and got his second book, Cashflow Quadrant, by Robert Kiyosaki. And it's kind of like, it's a little similar to the first book, but it does go a little bit more in detail about like assets and your liabilities. So this is a book I read where I was just like, my house that I live in now is actually not an asset, it's a liability, because money is coming out of my pocket to pay for the mortgage every month. And these are things that you think people would know. I didn't know that. I thought I was, oh, you know, assets. No, it's not. You're spending money on it. And this book actually teaches you to pay yourself first. So like the rich people or successful people, once they get paid, they pay themselves first, and whatever is left is what goes towards like expenses and stuff like that. Whereas, you know, the common person, we get our paycheck, we're paying for our light bill, we're paying for our mortgage, we're paying for our car note, and the rest is what we have to ourselves. So this teaches you that it needs to actually be the opposite way around. So get into it. Cashflow Quadrant next. So after I read the Rich Dad Poor Dad, I started to, you know, obviously I was really interested in real estate. I started looking for homes in my area, and I started to see how expensive they were. I found this book. It's called Long Distance Real Estate Investing: How to Buy, Rehab, and Manage Out-of-State Rental Properties. So this was a really good read. People say it can't be done, but David Greene proves that it can be done. The author, he was actually a cop. I think he like ran into a really good deal. I think that his parents put him onto. So he bought the house and he put some tenants in there, and then he started to see like what real estate can do. So he would work like, I think 70, 80-hour weeks, working overtime, saving money. Every penny that he made, he would put into buying properties. And he lived in California. So that market is also really high and very expensive. So he started to outsource and look at different states. And this book actually just tells you how you build a team, on how to get in contact with the real estate investor, the kind of emails you want to send them, and how you would get a contractor. So it's a really interesting read, and this is something that I do want to tackle at least this year. So I'm going to come back to this book, revert back to it, read it again just to refresh my memory. If you want to do something out of state, if you live in a if your market is really, really expensive and you want to start investing in real estate, this is a good read. The next book is by Brandon Turner. He's actually the second author on Bigger Pockets, and it's called Rental Property Investing by Brandon Turner. So he talks about why he loves rental property investing. So basically, when he was in college, him and his friends were all renting this, I think it was a house, but they needed to move. Like the landlord needed the house, and none of them had anywhere to live. So he started looking for a house to buy, and he told his friends like, hey, if I buy a house, would you guys just rent the room from me? And they were like, yeah. He actually went ahead, bought the home, and his friends all moved in with him. They all, and he did the math. He was like, okay, the rent would have to be $500 for each friend. It would have to be at least a 3-bedroom or 4-bedroom. And he realized that he was living for free. And then he met his now wife, I think in college as well. So they were living there together, and then they moved out. So that's basically called house hacking, when you're living in a house, but you're like renting out the rooms. So he talks about how he got into rental property investing and how he loves it. And he shares his experiences with us, because he kind of just like fell into real estate, and it worked out for him because now he owns lots and lots and lots of property. This is like, I think this is like my favorite out of all the books. So it's called Buy, Rehab, Rent, Refinance, and Repeat by David Greene. This book basically is like a gem, because a lot of us that are looking to invest in real estate, the biggest issue we have is we don't have the money. Where am I going to get the funds from? How am I going to do it? This book basically teaches you different places where you can get the money. And also, this is a system called BRRRR. But if you want to say it, it's Buy, Rehab, Rent, Refinance, Repeat. And this is actually what I'm doing now, guys. But I'm going to give you guys a video about the whole process when I'm done. So I've actually already done the buying part. I bought the house. I'm in the process of the rehab right now. So after that is the rent, you know, getting a person to come and rent out the property. then refinance. As you guys know, I bought the property cash, so I have no mortgage on it at the moment. But what I plan on doing is, since I bought it under value and I made it kind of like a brand new home, then I want to get a bank involved. They come, they take a look at the house, they appraise the house and refinance it. And basically I'll get like a small mortgage on the home. But they give you up to 70 or 75% of the home value. So let me just give you a quick example. Say you buy a house for $100,000 and that's how much you purchased the home, including the closing costs. Let's just say $100,000 just to make it easy. And then the rehab costed you $30,000. So all in all, you're at $130,000. The bank comes, the bank appraises the home. Obviously you bought the house under value if you did it the right way. We're not trying to overpay for these homes. We're trying to get them at a discount. That's why most of the homes you're buying is going to need some work, or maybe a lot of work, because you're buying it at a discounted rate, hopefully in a good, decent area. So you bought the property for $100,000, you put $30,000 into it, and the bank comes, they appraise the home, and they're like, you know what? This house is now worth $150,000 because of the work you put into it. Now that you put all this, work into it, new kitchen, a new bathroom, and that's another thing. The majority of your money for your rehab should go towards the kitchen and the bathroom. That's where you get your change. That's where a lot of people spend their time, and that's where people get, ooh and ah. So spend the money towards the kitchen and the bathroom. Back to regularly scheduled programming. So you're at $130,000. The bank comes in, they appraise the home, and they say your home is worth $150,000. Out of that $150,000, you get to borrow up to 70%. Let's just say 70. It's either 70 or 75%. Each bank is different, so you want to speak to a few different banks because you're going to get different rates. So now you spent $130,000. The bank said that it's worth $150,000, and you can borrow up to 70% of that. That's $105,000. The bank will give you $105,000 and give you a mortgage. It depends on what term you take. You could either do a 15-year mortgage, a 30-year mortgage. It also depends on your credit score. If you have a fair credit score, if you have a good credit score, if you have excellent credit score. So it depends on where you fall into, and also depends on what term you choose. But the mortgage is not really going to be that big. So now you get to have $105,000. You spent $130,000. So once they give that money to you, it's like you really spent $25,000, because now you only have $25,000 left in the deal. And what are you going to do? Repeat the last R in the BRRRR acronym. You're going to take that money. You're not going to spend it. You're going to go and do the same thing over again. This is what investors do. I didn't even think this was possible. When I read this book, I was just like, ah. This book actually gives you two scenarios. One person who just, saves, works overtime, and they buy properties. They buy one property a year. And the other person who's using the BRRRR method, and at the end of their 40 years, they show you like this person, like a snowball effect. And he had way more properties than the guy over here. And you gotta think about it, these properties, appreciation. The property is gonna be worth way more, 5, 10, 15 years than it is when you buy it. So you think about that. Rent goes up every year, every 2 years, depending on the lease term, but rent goes up. So you're just gonna be making more and more money. You're gonna be setting yourself up for a good financial future. And this could basically be your 401k. And the book that I'm currently reading is Managing Rental Properties by Heather and Brandon Turner. So they talk about different things that they did when they were renting their rental properties, because again, they met when they were in college. He had owned his home. He was renting the rooms out to his friends, and she kind of moved in with him. And then from there, they were house hacking a few times until they booked their home and started their family. So that's what I'm actually reading as we speak. I still have not decided if I'm going to hire a property manager to manage the property, or if I'm just gonna manage it myself and just make sure I set up my team, have a good plumber, skilled handyman. So this way, if anything does arise, the tenant will give me a call and I can give the handyman a call to go ahead and take care of the problem. It will be someone local near the property, because the way I see it, property managers are there to fill vacancies. And they charge you every time they're filling a vacancy. They charge you every time they're looking for a tenant. There's tools in place, websites in place for you to actually do that screening yourself. I'm trying to save these coins, honey. So I'm educating myself, and I'm going to maybe attempt to manage it myself. And if it becomes too much, there's plenty of property managers. I actually spoke with 2 property managers already. You can negotiate the prices, usually about 8 to 10% of the property rent. So maybe around $110, no more than $120 a month goes to the property manager. And I feel like they're there to solve problems. And another thing is, no one's gonna take care of your property or care about your property like you are. So I kind of want to be in the screening process and stuff like that. There's websites out there that you use. You charge your application fee, and you use that money towards these websites that, screen the clients. They tell you if there's any bankruptcy, if they've ever been evicted, if they've ever committed a crime. So it's gonna be some work, but I want to do this at least once, just so I know every little aspect of the business, just so I know for myself. Maybe I will give it to a property manager, maybe I will not. I'm reading this book. When I'm done, I'll let you know. I will be done reading this book before the property is done, so I'll make a decision at that time. That's all the books for today, but these are some of the books that really changed my mindset, gave me that real estate bug, planted the seed. As I read more and more about real estate, just loved it even more. And I hope you guys like it. If you guys actually read any of these books, tell me what you think of them. Put your thoughts in the comment section down below. And if you have any questions, let me know. I hope you liked the video. Like the video, okay? I'm gonna give you a few minutes just to like the video. Let's just, moment of silence. Did you like the video yet? Thank you. All right, so I hope you guys enjoyed the video. See you next week, and don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Bye.